The Call Room Road to Records is powered by HOKA. I've had the absolute ride of a lifetime releasing these Call Room series around track season, cross country season, and I've always been honored that HOKA comes on and sponsors them, helps me produce the best possible episodes that I can. This year's edition of the Call Room, I'm so excited about. It's leading into the 2025 edition of the HOKA Festival of Miles, held June 5th in St. Louis, Missouri. This year, the races are literally going to be bigger and better than ever. The fields that have already been announced are absolutely remarkable, and HOKA is there every step of the way. I cannot wait to talk to both the top boys and the top girl contenders as they journey to St. Louis to chase records, to chase history. It's going to be an absolute blast, and I can't wait for this podcast series leading into the historic event that is the HOKA Festival of Miles meet. If you're in the midst of your track season, I highly recommend checking out HOKA's race day products. Join HOKA's next generation of fast family this year at the HOKA Festival of Miles, the Summer Mile Club, and the Foot Locker Cross Country National Championships. Enjoy today's episode of the Call Room Road to Records, powered by HOKA.
Who cares if you don't win the race or you don't make the meet or whatever? As long as you ran your hardest, be proud of that and own that. Own like you did as well as you could have. Because like we talked about, winning is fun, but winning isn't everything. It's about becoming the best version of yourself and pushing yourself to the limits. And I definitely look to push myself to the limits at Festival of Miles.
Today on the Call Room Road to Records, episode 2 is the man, Mr. Keegan Smith himself. I love this conversation. Keegan ran half of my marathon with me a few weeks ago in Knoxville, so the first part of this conversation is dedicated just to sharing some fun stories behind the scenes of that experience. We also dive into his cross-country season where he won the regional meet for Nike, the regional meet for HOKA, and then he placed top 6 at both NXN and Foot Locker. We then go into his indoor season where he raced extensively across the country. One of the top results that he goes in depth to was a 404 mile that he ran while during that week of training not even being able to know if he was going to race that weekend. So remarkable story of resilience there. And then we talk about this outdoor season, his ambitions for the future, how he wants to close out his high school career, dealing with some injuries and setbacks, and racing the HOKA Festival of Miles meet on June 5th, which I loved hearing about, his ambitions of breaking 4 minutes in the mile, and so much more. Keegan is a stud. He's a friend. He's a brother. I always love my conversations with him. I know you will as well. Give us a follow or subscribe wherever you are listening so you never miss another episode, and then make sure you give us a 5-star review as a little cherry on top and share today's episode with a friend, because word of mouth marketing is the absolute best. And without further ado, enjoy episode 2 of the Call Room Road to Records with the man chasing a personal record in sub 4 on June 5th, Keegan Smith. Mr. Keegan Smith, welcome back to the podcast. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Doing excellent. You mentioned the marathon there real briefly. A lot of people know, he's fast on the grass. He's fast on the track. I don't think they know that you absolutely ripped one at the Knoxville Marathon. Take us through this monumental half marathon performance. At what point was the pace unbearable for you?
It was pretty much unbearable when I got to, let's say, 11.1 miles in. We just passed Tyson Park, and it got so unbearable that I was sitting there for about 2 minutes on the side while you took care of business, and you came out of the porta potty and you said, let's go. And you didn't unpause your watch. And I was like, why didn't you unpause your watch? And he's like, well, I got to get the true time. So then we hit mile 12 and you read out mile 12, 10:14 or something like that. And I was like, man, that's 10:14. I could probably walk that. But no, it was fun. It was good times, great memories. And as I said on my Instagram post, it's like one last stroll around the streets, and no one better to do it with than you. So thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, take me through, I don't even know your internal process when you found out I was doing the Knoxville Marathon, and then you decided to hop in half of it with me. And how funny was it for you to quote unquote do a race officially, but not race at all, and just like soak up memories, soak up the environment. And specifically, we talked about this a lot that weekend, but do it in the city that you grew up in that meant so much to you before you head off to Colorado.
Yeah, so I got to give credit to my mom. She was looking at your Instagram feed and she saw there was a post with the location titled Knoxville. And I was like, that doesn't look like Knoxville. But then we did some more research into it, and we were like, oh, he's running the Knoxville marathon. And she was like, well, you should do it with him. And I was like, I'm not doing a full marathon with him. And she's like, well, you could do half. And I was like, that is true. I could do half. So then I reached out to my good friend Bobby. He got me hooked up, and yeah, it was kind of like you said. It was fun to be in a race that's competitive and a true race, but not actually have to, worry about running super fast. Definitely something I'm not used to, but I do think it's necessary every once in a while, and I'm definitely going to try to do it more now as I uh, go on, and as I go to Colorado, maybe jump in a few local races there. But it's a unique experience in that you feel the vibes, you feel the pressure, but then there's no pressure to perform. You just get to go out there and have fun. And I mean, I don't know how you felt because you had the pressure of doing it one more time than I did, but I just remember when we split off at like 13 miles, I started sprinting, man. I was sprinting down the hill into the finish line, and it loops around the little park, and just to hear the crowd and everyone cheering me on, it was a really cool experience.
If you had to run a marathon that day, what do you think you would have run?
All out? Hmm.
All out.
My coaches had said we talked about this the next day at morning practice of like what I could have run if I had tried. For the full, probably like 2:30, 2:35. Because I didn't want to push it like super or too much because I had a big week that week of training anyway. So, but yeah, probably around there, 2:25.
Smoking. That's smoking. That's smoking. Was it weird for you to like be in a race and be so held back? I mean, obviously for me, I think a lot of people listening know I was doing this marathon off of only 2 weeks of training. So I by no means wasn't even racing it. You and I joked during the quote unquote race that we were the only ones like talking, laughing. Everyone else was dialed in. They're probably mad at us for having a good old time. But was it fun at all? Or what are your general thoughts on, for someone out there, like a race doesn't have to be a race. Like, yeah, a marathon can be daunting and all that, but at the end of the day, it wasn't really a race for you or me. And just being a part of a city experience, it's so cool. Like they shut down roads, all the cops come out, close off roads. It's like a citywide experience. People come out to cheer. Do you feel like that refreshed you a little bit as someone who is constantly in the competitive mindset, chasing times, chasing national titles, just to be like, oh, these other people around me are racing, but like I'm just gonna enjoy this, soak up the environment and atmosphere.
It did, and I think you kind of touched on it. It almost wasn't a run to me as much as it was just sitting down and having a, hour and a half, hour and 45-minute conversation with you. And I think sometimes we can lose track of that because you're not always going to be able to talk when you're going like super fast or you get to the later stages of a race. But um, just the feeling of, not having to always, I guess, I guess kind of just like take everything in. That's the thing I love about running the most, and that's what I've always said is like being able to see God's creation and just going out and just experiencing it all. And I told the interviewer before that race that like that was my advice to everyone running was to just take a breath, look around, and see how far you've gone. You'll be at mile 6 before you know it, and you'll have already missed 6 miles of the city and all the people cheering you on. I thought that was a big thing too, was all the people just cheering us on. I mean, we saw so many signs, and you obviously were getting free high fives left and right. All the moms with their signs for their daughters and sons, and I thought that was pretty cool. Even though none of them were like for me or said my name or anything, it was cool to just have that support because they supported everyone just about the same. But yeah, it was refreshing, and I think I definitely needed it after a very long indoor season full of competitive racing to kind of step back and get a little breather in, and um, I think that was definitely necessary going forward to this outdoor season.
You made me make a controversial decision the night before. After dinner in mass, we got some custard. This man, ladies and gentlemen, made it sound like this was like a staple spot, that he loved it. Lo and behold, we get the custard. Keegan had never tried it in his life before. I don't know if he was trying to ruin my race on the spot. Nonetheless, it worked. It worked. The race went way better than I could have expected. Keegan, is custard now the move before a big race?
I don't
And
know.
dessert the night before a race. What's your take?
So that was funny because there was one by where we went to dinner and mass, but then there's also one right by my school that was like just built. And I've never been to it, but it is somewhat a staple because every day you'll see school kids out there. And at the end of the day, my cup was still half full by the time I got home. I think you were the one that ate most of yours, but it was
Big
good.
dog's got to eat.
It's, it's unique, you know. It's not ice cream. It's kind of like a sweeter, like more yogurty. I don't know, but it was good, and I don't know if that's pre-race move. I'm more of a cookie guy pre-race. My teammates know that. Before NXR, a few of the team moms bought this big thing of cookies and was like, "Here you go, Keegan, you can eat it." And then I ran 14:23 the next day. So I don't know. Maybe I'll stick with cookies, but yeah, it was fun to mix it up and go with the custard.
That may have been the reason behind the mile 10 bathroom stop that you talked about. We'll never know. I don't quite know, but I wouldn't regret it. It was an enjoyable 30 minutes of eating ice cream and touring your high school the night before the race. Not to make this podcast about me, because it's about you and your last 6 months, as well as talking about your build up and preparation leading into Festival of Miles. Were you at all surprised, though, when you dropped me off? Because you and I haven't talked on the phone since the race itself. We've texted a bunch back and forth, but were you surprised at all that because you dropped me off at 13, we were running like 8:0s going into the race. My plan was 8:30s to 8:40s just to be super safe. Again, I had only trained for 2 weeks, guys, so it was just a survival of the fittest, trying to survive. So I was like, oh, we're running 8:0. I was like, I'm just gonna back it off to 8:30s, 8:40s because I want to be safe to not hit a wall. Lo and behold, I ended up I started running faster. I think I started going the 750s, and then the last 6 miles I picked it up. Was that surprising to you at all?
I mean, I mentioned that, you know, in the early stages, like through mile 3, that if it feels good right now, it's gonna like, don't think about feeling worse at the end. You know, I think if anything, it's gonna get better. And so I wouldn't say I was super surprised. I knew kind of once I left you were gonna put your headphones in and listen to music and start grinding. But that second half of the course is pretty brutal. So I knew, like, if you just stayed locked in, you'd surprise yourself. I thought you were going to surprise yourself from the very beginning, though. I mean, we were doing our 2 mile shakeout, and you were handling 740s like a boss, and I was like, yeah, he's going to run super fast tomorrow. If you didn't take the bathroom break, you would have been sub 3:30, which is, I think I said 3:30 to you in a text message like a few days before, and you're like, nah, no, and I was like, watch.
So you weren't shocked that I finished it? I think a lot of people were surprised I was able to do it so easily off of 2 weeks of
I
training.
will say I was shocked because it did start raining. Like, I finished my part and immediately it just like was pouring. So I don't know how much that affected you because obviously I wasn't there during that part of it. That was kind of surprising because I was like, well, the rains are going to slow him down, especially as hard as it was coming down. But then again, like, once you get in the groove and, you know, you've already been running like at that pace for so long, then it's just see someone, go get them, see someone, go get them. And I had a feeling in the back of my mind that you were just going to be passing people left and right, as the miles went on. So
let's talk about you. So we first talked on the podcast, I want to say right after NXR, so right before Foot Locker Regionals, right before NXN, right before Foot Locker. Take me through the completion of the cross country season and just your overall general thoughts and reflections from it now that we're 6 months removed.
yeah, I mean, it feels like forever ago now with the big indoor season I had, but I'd just say special. I mean, I'd battled so much the previous 2 years, especially in cross country, because cross country you really have to earn your spot to nationals. You can't just, you know, get in off of time or something like in track. And I had failed for the 2 years before that. I'd failed, and I knew there was a lot riding on that last year. And I think just the way that I handled the 4 races in 4 weeks, I think I did the best I could. My coach and I talked shortly after Foot Locker Nationals, and he had said, you know, if we had just picked one, we probably could have won the whole thing just because how fit you were. And that was obviously showcased at NXR. And he said, would you have changed it? Would you have changed running both over just running one? And I said, no, I wouldn't have changed it. I loved everything about it. I think it was in God's plan for me to do both. And one of the things you experience with doing both is two totally different races, two totally different experiences and meets. And I wanted both of those because I missed out on it for the previous 2 years. And I had so much fun, made so many memories, met so many people at both, that I wouldn't have changed it for a thing. Um, but yeah, I couldn't have ever imagined cross country going a better way than it did last year. And also, even before those big races, were the state championship with my team, and we got our rings finally like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And oh my goodness, those things are so sweet. But like to always have that to look back on with my guys, that's also super special. And yeah, it was really like the perfect end to the story of Keegan Smith and high school cross country.
I love it, man. And I'm so proud of you for, it's just an honor getting to know you. Like, you're a special guy. I said that at the end of the last episode, but like, for people who aren't out there, or who are out there who haven't had the privilege of meeting you, like, you work so hard, but you also have such like a holistic, like, quiet desire to be great. And I know it really killed you the past like 2 years not being able to go to those national meets, when you knew that, like, your middle school progression and even freshman year progression, that like you should have been at those meets. So something I want to like get your insight and thoughts on is just, yeah, you had that conversation with your coach about like winning a national title and all that, but I know you from the short time that I known you up until that point, having you on the podcast for the first time, that literally just making it there meant everything. Like, I talked to you after that 14:23, and obviously me, being in the sport, covering it, I'm going to ask you after you run 14:23, like, oh, what are your thoughts on winning it, winning a national championship? And you were calm, cool, collected. You were just like, I just want to make it to Foot Locker. Like, I just want to make it back and enjoy the experience, and the result's going to be the result. I'm going to run my heart out. So for you, what did it mean to really bounce back from a really rough 2 years and be able to be even in the conversation to win a national title and to be there?
Yeah, I mean, it was. If you would have asked me at the beginning of cross country season when I was training, I would have been like, no way, like not in any way possible would, like, let alone make the nationals. Like, I remember I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to just make nationals in the first place, even pressure to win state. Like, it goes way back to early fall, just the pressure I was putting on myself. And I think I just had to realize, look, like, this is it. You're not going to get another shot at it. So whatever you do, you just give 100%, give your best, and just you got to be proud of that at the end of the day. I mean, if I didn't make nationals or didn't win state or any of that stuff, it would have been the same because I knew I tried my best, tried my hardest. Um, but in terms of just the progression from the 2 years before where I didn't make nationals, um, that I think that put so much like strain on me that senior year I was just like, I'm just gonna let it all go. I'm gonna give it all to God and just run because that's what I am. I'm a runner, and I just got to focus on the most important thing, which is running. And obviously, recruiting played a big role in that, just because that's a whole nother added pressure during your junior year that can be very stressful to handle that and your racing as a junior. But yeah, I think just overall, it was a great season. Made lots of memories, and everything that I had worked for the previous 2 years, it seemed to finally pay off this last year.
Do you think people overly feed into the pressure that they feel? Because I think a lot of people will feel thoughts or emotions or feelings, and then they'll start to feed into it and think about it all the time. For you, it sounds like, at the beginning of the season, you thought about maybe what you hadn't done and the pressure of you only have one more chance, you only have one more shot, and then replacing those thoughts with running's just running. Like, I give these struggles and these doubts up to God, and I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other because that's all that the sport is.
Yeah, my coach would tell you I tend to be like negative or pessimistic when looking at goals or what I want to do during the season. I always like say worst case scenario, and I think I do that to kind of protect myself from, okay, well, if it actually does go bad, then I've been expecting that. Like, that's all I've been saying is, oh, I could do this, I could do that. But I've definitely made a turn this year to have a little bit more self confidence, find confidence in my training, find confidence in my races as the season goes on. But that's been a huge thing for me personally, is just trying to not protect myself by always being pessimistic, but be optimistic and realize, like, yeah, I am Keegan Smith and I have done these things. Like, I've had bad days, but you got to focus on the good days too, just as much as the bad days. Learn from the good days as much as you do from the bad days. I mean, after NXR, like you were saying, I didn't just give up and like, oh, NXR champion, blah, 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 and then just kind of pack it in through nationals. Like, no, that was just one little stepping stone into the block that was run fast, or into the goal that was run fast at nationals. So, I mean, immediately after that race, it was like, okay, flip the switch, reset, and we got another one to take care of here in Charlotte. So I think that kind of showed where I wasn't necessarily looking at like the negative part of things, or kind of being satisfied, and um, then again, like flipping the switch and resetting my focus on to what matters, and to, you know, what business I had to take care of.
Most people listening to this will never win a Nike Cross Regional meet, will never win a Foot Locker regional meet. What does winning feel like? I don't think I've ever asked that question, but like thousands of people are lined up across the course. Maybe thousands of athletes have traveled there, and you come out on top. And I love that photo that Luke, who was on my team, got of you at the finish line, which is like your arms outstretched at the regional meet in Charlotte, and just like I know you felt a lot of pressure going into that regional meet to make it back to Foot Locker, because you had done so your freshman year, and you know the 1423 the week before, and signing a NIL deal with HOKA, and there was more spotlight on you than ever before. I remember talking to your coach, and he was like, "Yeah, Keegan doesn't get nervous before races, but he's like terrified." What does winning feel like?
Man, that's a tough question. I think each win can be different in terms of how you'll feel afterwards. Um, Obviously, depending on like what went into the race and kind of what the stakes were, but I think it just kind of shows like it proves what you already know, and that says a lot about your self confidence. But you could say the same for like if you run a PR, and I think that's why it's so important to have that confidence, because for me, like my goal every race is to win, because I know if I execute and I run as well as I can win. Um, but that could be the same said for someone that necessarily isn't going to win, but they want to run fast. They can say, okay, this is my goal. If everything goes right, I'll run this time, or I'll place this place. And if they execute, run their best, do their job, then they'll do that. And I think the way people feel when they do that is the same way I feel when I win. Because it's the same thing. You set a goal, you work for the goal, you stay consistent, and then once you get to that goal, it's kind of that like relief, kind of gratification, um, that it's a good feeling all around. But I also think, kind of a nuanced answer, I also think that it makes you have a responsibility, an added responsibility that you didn't have before. Where now, as you're a winner, okay, that's great, but you're not going to be defined by that one win. Like your career is a lot more than one win. It's a lot more than one loss. And again, back to that week of NXR, then Foot Locker South, having to just totally reset and not think about that one win. Because yeah, I could have been satisfied with that win for a long time, but to kind of be like, okay, I've done this, I've won, none of it matters anymore, because now there's a new goal and there's a new thing to chase. And that's what's so great about the sport. I mean, you obviously experienced this with the marathon of as soon as you finished, you were like, man, I want to train for another one and then run even faster. And you can always do that. Like, there's never a point where you can't get faster. And the pros are proving that right now as they just keep getting faster and faster. Um, so there'll always be an opportunity to get better. And to me, you know, to win is just me doing what I got to do to get better. And I know in college the wins are going to be few and far between, if any. But again, it's not necessarily all about the wins. It's about setting a goal for yourself and then going out executing and accomplishing that goal.
We're talking about Foot Locker and NXN like you didn't place pretty darn well. We're talking about it like you just went there to participate. You placed top 6 at both combined. You had the lowest, total score of anyone who did both. Put some respect on his name, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe the Gatorade National Committee. What were your thoughts on those performances, and which one meant more to you?
Ooh, it's funny. So after Foot Locker, I got interviewed by a good friend from DieStat. He had interviewed me after freshman year, um, and he's been a big supporter of mine. And over the years, obviously, he knows the struggle I've gone through. And he asked, I think it was like, not winning a national championship, but what do you consider like the best in the nation or whatever? And I mean, in my humble opinion, I do believe that the 4 weeks I put together were, pretty unmatched, and that the conditions for each were completely different. One was rained out, one was on a really tough Balboa course. The other two were on totally different courses as well. Um, but again, like you said, to place that high at both races, they both meant a lot. I mean, I don't think I could pick just one. Um, they're just also just two totally separate races. I mean, NXN, I was way back, like in the 20s, it felt like the whole time. And then I closed in the fastest K to pass like 13 guys or something, and finished sixth there. And then Foot Locker, I was up top and then dropped 20 places back to like 27th, and then had to work my way up there too. So I don't know if I'd say like one was better than the other, because they were both uniquely special. But I did say in that interview, and I'll say it again, when you're talking about like the best in the country, best in the nation, you can always look to who won the national championship, because obviously they deserve it, and they executed on that day better than anyone else. But I executed, I think, over 4 weeks better than anyone else. And if you're going to give it to the most consistent guy, then I think I was pretty consistent. But I mean, all that, like I said, that's just me and what I think. But it was how I was able to be so like happy with the results. I wasn't gonna complain and be like, I wanted the national championship, because yeah, everyone does. But I got to realize like, hey, you had a really hard 4 weeks, and you did about as best you could. And at the end of the day, I'm proud of that, and I don't think anything else would change that at all. But yeah, it was crazy 4 weeks, man. I mean, cross country, you start working in like July, like early July, late June, and then I mean that was like December 12th, where we were talking at Foot Locker in San Diego. Just 6 big months of training and racing, and to end it with those two was super special. I'd probably say Foot Locker just because it's HOKA, but yeah, Foot Locker on top.
Let's go, baby. Also, I think, for not to put words in your mouth, but I think Foot Locker, you were hanging on for every thread of fitness on your
I
deadbeat
was
tired
cooked, bro.
body.
That race at
Yeah.
NXN that was a brutal race. I mean, it takes a lot out of you to run those conditions. And Foot Locker, I was just so burnt out by then that I was like, anything that is good enough, I'll take it. And I didn't even know the All American thing was like top 5, because I was sitting in like 6th, and I just happened to find a gear. I didn't even realize. I thought it was like 7, and my coach was like, "Well, I'm glad you sprinted." I was like, "I don't know, man. I was just running. That's all I was doing."
How'd you bridge the gap between, your most successful season on paper in your running career to then indoor season? And how'd you kind of reset, take that time off, and reshape your expectations, and take me through, some of the results of the indoor season?
So I've always loved indoor. It's honestly like my favorite season, just because you get to
That's
finally
a
get back on the
wildly hot
track.
take.
I know a
Ugh,
lot of people.
come on, indoor,
It's
Keegan.
it's super fun. It's super fun. And so part of that was I wanted to have a big like final indoor season. I just think the training you have from cross is like such a good base that when you go straight into indoor and you do like a few speed workouts, then you're like set. And a lot of people run fast, and you also get to travel everywhere. I'm not staying like in Knoxville every single meet, but I get to go all over the place. And so I wanted to have a big indoor season, wanted to see things, and obviously the way I ended cross country kind of helped solidify my spots in some of those big races. But yeah, I would say it's about as big as an indoor season as anyone could have had at the high school level. Starting it off up in Chicago at Misfits, um, then like going to Boston for New Balance, then going to New York for Milrose. Um, Meanwhile, going to Tennessee or Nashville for state, then to Louisville, then back to Boston. Like I was all over the place, to Philadelphia. And it was hard because you can't train so much because you're running like it feels like every other weekend. For me, it was really every weekend. Um, but I think one part that kind of went unnoticed during all of that was how I like handled my schoolwork. Um, there was a streak, and all my teammates know about this. My coach knows about this. There was a streak I had that's going to be unbreakable. I had not gone to a full week of school from the week of November 7th, all the way up to March 29th or something. So that whole like third quarter, I wasn't at school for a full week. So that was really tough because you're on a flight and you're doing like math homework, but you're still trying to focus on racing. Um, but I think the experience of going to all those things was super beneficial. And like I said, with cross country, why do one when you can do both? And I wanted to just get the experience of all of them one last time. And um, yeah, it was really fun. It was a fun indoor season. Got to see lots of cool places and meet a lot of cool pros. With some of those being pro races and run really fast too. I mean, we haven't talked about times yet, but I had some pretty fast races, and I'm proud of those and hoping to build off those this outdoor season.
Yeah. Speaking of one of those times, take me through that 404. I think surprised a lot of people. I think you think you're a track guy, and I mean, I know I'm going to trust you, so I believe you're a track guy, but people look at your results from cross and think, oh, you add up the results of the national meets, who's the best cross runner in the country. Even if Gatorade might not think so, I can state that. So then you come into track and you're like, oh, this guy running 404 is a little unexpected, but you made it look so easy and comfortable. Take me through that race and what it indicated to you of what you can do this outdoor season.
And that race surprised me, I think, more than anyone else, my coach and I at least, because I was injured that week and I didn't train. I didn't even run for 3 out of the 4 days, leading up to that race. So there's a long story behind that race. I'll try and give you the short and sweet version, but we fast forward to like Monday of before that weekend. That was on a Saturday, that race, or maybe it was on a Sunday. It was on the weekend, and I had done a really, really hard week of training the week before, to where I put too much stress on my calf and on like the backside of my knee into the upper part of my calf. I strained that muscle, and I couldn't run. Like I was out for like 3 days. I was seeing my PT like as much as I could to try and get things taken care of and get me ready to race. Um, and all along, I was preparing for a 2 mile because I thought I was running a 2 mile there. And then, like, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I get this call from Chris, who is like directing the meet for us athletes, and she's like, "Yeah, so it's actually a mile. It's not a 2 mile." And I was like, "What do you mean it's a mile? Like I've been training for a 2 mile. I've been doing everything for a 2 mile." And she's like, "Yeah, the fast race is the mile." And I was like, "Okay, well, I don't even know if I can run this weekend because I'm not running right now, and it's like already Wednesday. But I'll let you know by Thursday if I can, make it out and run." So that changed everything. Like I had mentally been preparing for a mile. I was like, okay, after state, I'm doing a 2 mile at Philly and a 2 mile at nationals. Like that's it. But then it kind of everything reset, and like by Thursday, I think my PT had me doing a 200-meter workout, and I was like, I don't know. Like I really build up to feel good, because it hurt the whole time. The leg did, but I was really building up like as the workout went on. And Thursday night, I was like, I ran about 31s on the 200s, and I was like, okay, I could probably do it. It's worth a shot. Obviously, it's a lot of money to like go all the way up there and then come back. But I called Chris and I was like, all right, let's do it. Like, sign me up for the mile Thursday night. This was Thursday night. And I was like, I'm ready. Let's do it. So we get to Philly, and I'm still nursing it. Like, I remember pre-race, I ran with Asher, and I was just hurting. But my PT was like, "You'll probably be fine. Just, you might feel like really bad after the race." So I was like, okay, just put all that behind me. Like, I'm here to race, and I've ran well in Philly at Penn. So I was hoping like the first time on their new indoor track was going to be kind of the same. So then we get to the race, and I'm warming up, and my PT was like, "Do a really good warm up." My coach was like, "Do a really good warm up." And so I did extra long warm up. And I just remember like before I spiked up, I took BioFreeze, because usually I like put that on my joints to kind of numb it. I took so much BioFreeze to the back of my calf, to my calf and the back of my knee that day. I think I stunk up the whole like backside of the bleachers just because I was putting so much on my leg. But I was just rubbing it, and I was like, please, please just numb it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel it. And then I was doing strides on the inside before the race, and my coach is looking at me and he's like, "Oh no, like you look like you're limping during the strides. It's not going to go well." He ended up telling me that after the race that he was not very confident. Just by the way I looked, I mean, I felt fine. But yeah, he said, you look like you're limping. It's not going to go well. So we get to the race. Um, really, really fast guys. Chris does a really good job of getting really fast guys at these circuit races. And I mean, Corbin Coombs ran 401, TJ ran 404. So I knew I wasn't going to be like leading, and all I had to do was sit. And I just remember, like, I never felt tired. Like, the whole way through the 404, it was just kind of like each lap was giving me added energy because I would see this clock and I'd see my split, and I'm like, oh, like, I'm still on. Like, just keep going. And I remember with like 500 to go, my coach was on the back curve, and he's just like slapping the track because it was banked. He's slapping it with his hand, and he's like, "This can be special. Like, go, go, go!" And I mean, everything I had, I took to that last 400. I was kind of in no man's land because TJ and Corbin were battling up front. But then I slowly started to reel TJ in, and I was like, I gotta go get him. And I mean, I just kicked, and yeah, I finished. I looked at the clock. I was like, no way, like 404. I didn't even think I was going to be running this weekend, let alone running the mile. So I think, yeah, that race was definitely a surprise to me because I ran my PR basically half injured and not even expecting to run the mile. But like you were saying in the question, that gives me way more confidence going into this outdoor season because if I can run 404 off of that fitness and off that those circumstances, then I mean, shoot, 4 flat shouldn't be too far off because if I'm feeling healthy, then you never know. But to do that while also being injured or a little banged up, I think gave me a lot of confidence going into the rest of the season.
How's the body feeling now? Give people an update, and what can they expect of you in the coming months leading into the Festival of Miles meet?
So not so great right now. Go back to the marathon after we finished. I went and I did another 3 miles because I had to hit my long run that day. And then after that was Monday, and I did a 5 by mile threshold. And after that, I was cooked. Like I had the metatarsal bruise, so I couldn't walk on my left foot. And then I had a strain on my thigh on my right leg, so I couldn't use that leg either. So I was really beat up. I ended up taking a week off after that Monday, just because I physically couldn't handle anything. Like I could barely even cross train because the amount of pressure I would have to put on my foot or use with my thigh was just painful. So that was a week. That was about 3 weeks ago. I was off for a week. And then slowly but surely, I started, getting back to running. It was kind of like the metaphor of, you put boiling water in a pot, then you put the lid on, you let it go up to the top, then you take it off, then it goes down, you take it off. That's kind of where I'm at right now in just terms of every time I have a race, like I feel good enough before, but then when I race, it's like boils up to the top, and then I have to take like a day off or I mean, it was like 3 days ago. I couldn't even finish my workout because I was in so much pain just trying to finish it. But all at the same time, I mean, I'm still running pretty fast. Ran like 4:13 completely solo, and 1:55 by closing in a 54. So I'm getting there. I think the biggest worry I have is like if I don't get like better soon, then I won't be able to train. Because obviously you need some good training to run fast, and it kind of feels like I'm racing to train right now, not so much training to race. But I don't have any worries about the postseason because that's far enough away that I'll be ready to go by then, no matter what. It's just a matter of right now. Like I've got the state meet coming up, and I want to be ready to go for that. But I think I'll be good, and my coaches will have me ready. My PT will have me ready, and we'll take care of business. But yeah, it's been a little rough recently, just not feeling 100%. Say I max felt like 60% the past 3 weeks. Definitely want to make that 80% come next week.
How do you deal with these challenges and setbacks mentally?
It's tough, man. I think it's tough because you see everyone else running so fast. I don't even have to look outside of Knoxville to see people here in my own town are running like super duper fast. Then you see all the big meets, obviously, like Arcadia and stuff, and they're just killing it. It's tough because you want to compare yourself to them, or not compare, but like kind of see where you measure up. And then I go out and I run a mile solo and just kind of stink compared to all these other people. But like I was saying earlier, I need to be more optimistic and less pessimistic. And I think that's really what I'm battling right now, is realizing like I'm not running super fast in my races, but for where I'm at, like that's really good. And my coaches had to remind me of that a few times. Is that like, hey, just the fact that we did a mile and a 2 mile in the same night, and you got out of it like injury free, or by injury free, like not like dying on the ground and not being able to walk, like that's a plus. So I think I need to take more of the little positives and kind of group them together to get one positive, like, hey, I'm still running. I'm not like completely sitting out like I was a few weeks ago, but looking at that more than looking at, what Tavon or Josiah or Owen are doing out west. That's got to be a key here moving forward for me.
Let's talk about the 2025 HOKA Festival of Miles meet. As of now, you're in the fastest heat. To my knowledge, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you've never ran this meet before. It's shaping up to be the most stacked boys mile field of all time. What's it like to be a part of that field? You mentioned 3 guys out west. They're all signed up. Tommy Latham signed up. Corbin Coombs is signed up. TJ Hansen signed up. Like, they're going to be fireworks on the track June 5th, St. Louis. What's it going to be like to be a part of that exclusive group, chasing the sub 4 and maybe more minute barrier?
I definitely want a rematch of what happened at Grand Prix. I was battling a sickness then, and it was against all the same guys. And I was just had no business even being in the race with how I was feeling. But I would definitely want a rematch, and this is looking like it's going to be that rematch. Funny you mentioned, so Festival of Miles, I've always wanted to do it. And this goes way back to 2018. I was running the AAU Junior Olympic Nationals over the summer in Des Moines, Iowa, and we had to travel through St. Louis. So we're traveling through St. Louis, and I need a track to work out on. So my dad like looks around, emails a few ads, emails a few ads, and the one track that actually responded and let me use it was the track they used for Festival of Miles. And I was like, no way, like this is the Festival of Miles track. So I've done a workout on that track, but never raced it. And since then, I've always wanted to race it. I think that wall is like the coolest thing on the left side. But yeah, I've always wanted to race it. Last year was a little bit tough because I didn't know they had the rule that like unless you were like super fast, they wouldn't take your indoor time, and I thought they would. So I didn't run the mile last year that much, thinking that they were going to use that. So then when it came time like to sign up and stuff, I missed it by like a second or two. So that was pretty tough because it was on my schedule last year and I really wanted to do it. But yeah, I'm super excited. Billy's there, you're there, like everyone's there. The vibes are so great. And I mean, like you said, this is the fastest field assembled in history. And, I've already raced all these guys in one race once. So I'm hoping that this one will go a lot better than the last one. And I'll maybe be up there and duking it out with them. But yeah, it's going to be super fast. I mean, I could get dead last and still run 3:59 is the strength of this field. And I mean, hey, I'd take that. I don't care if I get 20th place. If I'm sub 4, I'm sub 4.
Love that, man. Speaking of sub 4, what would it mean to you to close out your high school career with a 3:59 or faster to your name?
It would be pretty insane. I mean, nowadays you see so many people doing it across the world. Cameron Myers did it. Sam Ruth did it. Corey Camp. Like you see so many people doing it at younger and younger ages. But it's still the same, like regardless of what age or whatever. Like breaking 4 is just a big deal. And obviously I would love to do it, but I don't think I'll be disappointed if I don't do it. Maybe if I run like 4 flat .01, I will. But just any race that I can be proud of at the end, I'll be proud of. But yeah, it'd be pretty insane. It's funny. I was texting back and forth with TJ, who I'm rooming with next year at CU, and he sent me the post. I was like, Faith Kipyegon's going for sub 4 June 26th, and he was like, man, I gotta run sub 4 before she runs sub 4. And I was like, me too, bro. Like I've got to get under before Faith does. If she did, that would be absolutely insane. I mean, I just couldn't, I wouldn't even believe it. Like that would be insane. But that's the goal, is to get under before she does. So we'll see. But yeah, like you said, it's going to be a great field, and in those races, you know, experience tells me you just got to latch on and just go. Like there's no holding back. You leave it all out there and you just stick on. Luckily, I don't have to be out front or anything. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go into it like I did Philly, where I ran 4.4 and just kind of latch onto those front guys and just mix it up and see what happens.
Keegan, final question for you. For those who have listened to our conversation today, are inspired by who you are, what you've done, what you're going to do, what's the final takeaway message for the people out there?
I guess I'll say, like, a lot of kids nowadays are running faster and faster, and it's not making people seem like they're slower or anything, but it's getting harder and harder to compete because there's so many kids running faster. I think an example is at my state or regional meet last year, 4:13 didn't make it in the mile. Not to say 4:13 is slow, but it didn't even make state. And that just kind of goes to show the evolution of training and how serious everyone takes it. And I guess my takeaway would be, you're not always going to be the best of the best and not always winning. I wasn't that way for 2 years in high school. But what I take away from every race is the same. And it's that if I give my 100%, I give my best effort, I can be proud of that. And at the end of the day, like, that's all that matters. My parents have always taught me that. My coaches have always taught me that. And I try to just remind people, like, who cares if you don't win the race or you don't make the meet or whatever? As long as you ran your hardest, be proud of that and own that. Own, like, you did as well as you could have. Because like we talked about, winning is fun, but winning isn't everything. It's about becoming the best version of yourself and pushing yourself to the limits. And I definitely look to push myself to the limits at Festival of Miles here soon.
I love it, man. Keegan, final question for you. A little bit of a fun one to close things out. Mr. Tennessee, Mr. Knoxville. Tennessee football. What's the final record going to be this fall? Nico's left. You've seen some spring training. What are we thinking for the Bulls?
I'm still trying to get over this Shador stuff, man. I sat there for like 3 days watching this man just drop off the board. I like thinking about Tennessee football is just such on the back radar. We've lost so many guys to the portal this past year. I'll say like 9-3, a healthy 9-3. But the Buffs, I don't even know, man. Hopefully Dion gets his stuff together this year, but yeah, I'll go 9-3 for the Vols and like 7-8 for the Buffs, somewhere around there. So I hope better, but right now it's all about the Avalanche and Nuggets taking care of business in the NBA and NHL. So they got to beat the Blue Jackets, who didn't even make it for like the 100th year.
Hey, who won Natty Champs football college? Go Bucks, baby!
I was at that game and I froze very badly because it was like 10 degrees outside. And I was just watching Emeka Ibuka and Quinshon Judkins like just destroying us. But
that's how it is. That's how it is.
Game in Cebus. That was a fun game.
Keegan, appreciate the conversation. Keep crushing it. Always appreciate your vulnerability and honesty when it comes to sharing insights from your career, and really excited to see you put the pieces together soon and get ready to chase after history. June 5th in St. Louis, where you did a workout way back in the day, 7 years ago. And yeah, you're a great kid. An honor to be, in your life, a friend, and to follow along your career because it's special. And I know that whatever you accomplish this outdoor season is just a glimpse of what's to come in the future. So next time I have you on the podcast, hopefully it's recapping a cheeky little sub-4 performance.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully. Well, I appreciate it. Always good to be on the pod, and to many more down the road. But yeah, I'll see you June 5th and then June 9th too, right? You'll be out there?
June 8th, Seattle, yeah.
June 8th, yeah. All right, well, St. Louis, here we come.